Welcome to the Cyber Agony Aunt podcast series, brought to you by your very own cyber aunties, me, Amelia Hewitt.
And me, Rebecca Taylor. We're here to tackle the most pressing questions that arise throughout your cyber career with a selection of very special guests.
Think of us as your very own mentors, confidants, and cheerleaders, your agony aunts for surviving your career. Hello and welcome back to the Cyber Agony Aunt podcast. Thank you for being here. We have a very exciting episode today, don't we?
I'm very happy. This makes me very happy, this episode, because we've brought in someone that I know I look up to, that I think is making such a big difference out there in approaching people in the wider community. I think they're a bit of a legend. But Amelia, I'll let you crack on.
So for this episode, as Rebecca said, we have an influential cyber leader who's making not only a difference within our industry itself, but also in the public domain, helping to break down challenging cyber topics and make cyber more accessible to the masses in the form of podcasts, radio, and you may have seen him on your TV. Without further ado, lovely guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. Lovely.
It's a good ego boost before you start.
I like that. Hi, I'm Jake Moore, and I'm the Global Cybersecurity Advisor at ESET. And I love talking about cybersecurity, which is very lucky for me, really, because I get to talk about it a lot.
Your career worked out well.
So the name of today's podcast is the quote, "Feel the fear and do it anyway," which came up as part of our briefing call when we planned this podcast. So, Jake, to get the ball rolling, could you please share with us a little bit about the quote and how it's influenced your career and choices?
Yeah, so I first heard this quote, "Feel the fear and do it anyway," from my mum. She was a big fan of the book with the same title by Susan Jeffers. And when I was a kid, she would just say to me, whenever you're scared of something and you might not want to do it, just feel that fear anyway. Just do it. You might enjoy it. And she was so right. And I've kept that same mantra throughout my life. But in particular, when it came to, say, my first time having to speak on TV, that was, for me, a very poignant moment. It was nerve-wracking, to say the least. But I remember just thinking, come on, you can do this. Huge amounts of fear. Lots of things could go wrong, but just do it anyway. And I remember coming off saying, I will never speak on TV ever again. I hated every moment. But then gradually I got back into it. And now I love doing it. And if I hadn't jumped in with that fear, then I wouldn't be where I am now.
That's amazing. And there's a similar quote that I heard, and I think it was a stunt director that said it was that everything you want is on the other side of fear. And it's similar, where it's like when you do anything in life for the first time, or a new thing or a big thing, it's going to feel scary, but that's not a reason to not do it. And I think that's really important. And I'm sure, Rebecca, you've had many a moment in your career where you've also felt that way, but you've done the thing anyway, and you've gone, oh, well, it wasn't that bad, actually, in the end.
Yeah, it's jumping over the wall, isn't it? It's not really knowing what might be on the other side, but kind of clinging on to the hope that you've made a good choice and that it will work out. It's hard to be brave, but it does pay off most of the time.
Well, you end up here on our podcast.
You end up here, smashed it. Talking of smashing it, I've got my first question for you. When it comes to your career, and as we've touched on, you're making such a big difference both in the industry but to the public as well. Can you share with us any moments that have really stood out in your career as game-changing and where you have really pushed yourself to get out there?
Well, thanks very much. I am very fortunate, and I always feel very lucky that I'm able to, give advice to people that need it. But it's really moving away from the police force. I spent 14 years in the police, and I decided to jump into the private world. Mm-hmm. That was nerve-wracking, just thinking about leaving a family, really, in the police force. Yeah. And people tend not to leave the police unless they retire or commit a crime. I'm not even kidding. They are the only two paths, really. So everyone was asking me, what are you doing?
So rogue.
Yeah,
what have you done?
Yeah. maybe he's committed a crime but doesn't want to get caught, so he's leaving now. So I decided to jump into this murky, crazy world of the private world. And I went up to ESET and I actually said to them, look, one day I will leave ESET. Leave the police. But I want to work for you guys. So just remember me if anything does come up. And I was basically in the right place at the right time. And they said, if you want to effectively write your own job spec, then yeah, give it to us. And within 3 months, I'd left the police and joined it. And that just filled me with fear at that moment, thinking, what have I done? But then fast forward about another year after that, they were then throwing me as a spokesperson in front of the media, which, yeah, I had written in the job spec, but it was something that I was so worried about doing that then suddenly I was on the BBC for the first time, giving, commentary about cybersecurity. And when I say I really did not want to ever go on TV again, I really do mean that. I came home and said to my wife, I will never speak on TV again. I really did. But COVID then came along. Mm-hmm. The pandemic meant that we were all at home. So I was sat at home when I got another call from BBC saying, can you come and comment on a cybersecurity story? I thought, well, I will be at home. I will be able to just sit there in my shorts and my flip-flops. You won't see that. You know what? It's only going to be, say, a few minutes. I can have a cup of coffee there. I could even maybe put a few pointers on my screen they might not notice. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. I'll do it. This is the whole say yes to everything, which is another one of my mantras. I love saying yes to absolutely everything because it always snowballs. And this one really did. And then I did more and more from home, feeling very comfortable and relaxed. And I look back and I think that really was the start of me being, say, known by journalists and genuinely becoming friends with so many lovely journalists and producers around the UK and now even abroad, that I'm able to luckily speak to these people on a weekly basis about the topic that I am so passionate about. And if anyone wants to, say, take advice from that, then that's an even bigger win for me and our company. I never talk about sales or anything or products, but I love giving advice or my, say, view on something that I am so passionate about.
I think that's what's really special. And I love the fact that even though the first experience maybe wasn't as magic as you hoped it would be, that actually you almost by chance found a set of adjustments because of the way the world was that allowed you to dip your toes in, to get more comfortable, to find your rhythm and pace. And then now it's a new skill and it's something you can offer out into the world. I think it's brave, but I think it's great.
Yeah, I read a lot about this. I read a lot about how to control breathing, how to sit in a comfortable way, what to do beforehand, like what drinks to have beforehand, whether it's too many coffees or not enough coffee, whether to have enough food before, how to control the nerves. I read so much into it, probably too much, but I love the whole psychology. I love psychology of cybercrime, but I also love psychology of the mind and to form good habits. And all of these incredible self-help things all have helped shape what I do now. And now it's so much more enjoyable because I can kind of forget about a lot of the things and just really focus on what I really want to do and talk about.
So I'm interested to know, with all the experience you've amassed through doing this sort of publicity piece, is there anything now at this point in your career that would still give you the fear? In terms of if you were asked to do a specific piece of media, would it still make you go, oh, I'm not sure about that? Or is it so comfortable?
That is a great question. But I mean, I still always get nervous just before, especially in studio. So I do a lot of talking for Good Morning Britain. It's weird. I don't get nervous until I sit at the table now.
Sure.
That's when my heart starts going crazy, and they're doing the countdown. And when it's going to, the camera's going to be on me. And I know that some of my friends might be watching that because a lot of what I do, maybe daytime TV, I know that my friends aren't ever going to see that. So I don't really get nervous about that. But say it's breakfast telly, they might see it. And I've had it before where my friends are texting me at the time, telling me that I'm on the telly, and we're watching it.
No.
They're watching it live, which is hilarious. But I guess they're trying to put me off because they're my mates and they're trying to make my phone either vibrate or ring on national TV. But no, if it was to be a huge, huge piece, then yeah, that still is going to give me that fear. But I do love it now. I used to hate it. Now I want that. And you should always feel nervous about something that you're passionate in, because it means you're passionate about it. It means you care about what you say. But I strangely enjoy it now, because there's nothing like it afterwards. I've checked my heart rate monitor on my watch, for example, after I've been on telly, and it stays quite high for the rest of that day.
Interesting.
Which to me means my adrenaline's staying high, which means I'm excited. And I love that whole process. In fact, I've worked out that if I go running on the day that I am going to be, say, on TV, it gives me an extra high and that extra energy, and it opens up my lungs to breathe. It opens up my brain to think. And so every time I do morning TV, I always wake up beforehand and go for a 3-mile run beforehand, whatever time, whatever the weather, so I can go in there buzzing like a golden retriever and go, right, throw me any question you've got, because I can't wait.
I love that you found a routine that works for you to get you pumped up and ready for it. Because I think as well, that's part of, even when I think about when I've done my public speaking, I've found my rhythm and what I need to do to feel safe, and that I can own that moment and enjoy it, rather than it just being another trauma or moment you're like, never again, I can't do that to myself. So I think your tips are actually really useful as well for anyone that's thinking of exploring that.
Yeah, it links back to what Callum said a few episodes ago about how to record a successful podcast. Is how you show up really matters, because it comes across in how you speak. And we've definitely had it where first episode of the day we might be a bit, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And, I listen back to our first few episodes. We do not sound how we do now, because now when we come in, we know the space, we know the people who, work with us, we know where we sit, we know what we're doing, and that really comes across. So I can understand why having that routine is so important to you, and it's why people suggest those things like power poses, because it psychs you up that little bit to go and do something that might be a bit scary.
Yeah.
To make you feel nice and uncomfortable. We were talking about this earlier. My mum is a fan, and she's just like, he's so positive, even though he's talking about scary subjects and about terrible things that are happening. He's always really positive, and I feel like I can trust him. But that's the person you're putting out there into that public environment as a trusted person, as someone that hasn't sort of become sad by the process.
It is a difficult subject, though. So, yeah, I am a positive person, and I like to not just think that the glass is half full, it's overflowing, but to sometimes have to talk about, someone's been scammed, someone's had their life savings taken away from them. It's a sad subject, so it's really tough to try and bring some humour into it, or to try and be super positive about it. But yeah, that's half the challenge, and I really do enjoy that. To look at, say, the Jaguar Land Rover and Marks and Spencer's attacks, I do genuinely think they will take on a way of helping other companies learn how to be safer. And they'll look at that and think, wow, I never thought that would happen. Maybe they really could come for us as a company. Maybe we should put that extra protection in. So yeah, every cloud's got a silver lining, every time.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we've noticed through talking with our friends and family not in this world, is that the high-profile attacks that are happening are really making people think about their own responsibility. And I'm sure we'll get onto this later in the pod, but more now than ever do people come to me and say, well, what can I be doing? And especially with Christmas being, this being the time of year, people want to know, how do I stop myself getting scammed? How do I stop myself falling for these things? Whereas before, I think people tend to see cyber as, well, it's a big company problem. It's not a me problem.
Yeah, it's an organisational issue, not a personal issue. I totally agree. I think the Marks and Spencer one in particular, and I think it's because a lot of the communities and my family that I'm part of are using these kinds of providers. They're popping out, grabbing that M&S
Do you mean
sandwich.
we don't all have a Jaguar or a Land Rover, Rebecca?
Well, maybe one day. But when that happened, the amount of people particularly at school, actually, at the school gates, that approach me like, oh, have you heard about it? Is that what you do? I'm like, well, not quite, but yes, I've heard about it. Do you think my details are safe? Do you think I should be doing it? It just starts the conversation in the everyday instead of it being an inaccessible topic.
For sure. Okay, so now we've set the context of what the podcast is about and where that title came from. Let's talk about confidence, because confidence, as we all know, can be very hard to grow and actually very hard to own as individuals. So interested to know, how have you gone about owning your space and your voice, and also owning the opportunities that life has thrown at you?
Yeah, I think really it comes down to saying yes to every opportunity. So every time a journalist asks me for my opinion or some analysis, just a quote, I say yes and immediately work on that, drop anything and work for them. And that snowballs into producers getting in touch and saying, can you come on our radio show? And that might be within the next half an hour. So yes, I can do that. Just continually saying yes. I had heard once that if you say no twice in a row to the same producer, they will think you don't want to do it. So to never say no twice. And if I ever say no once, because I really can't, I make a note of it and really do everything I can to make sure I say yes next time. And that continues to form a relationship and genuinely friendships with the journalist producers and even some of the presenters now, because when you regularly do this, you form that trust with them. But talking about confidence, there's nothing more confidence building than someone asking you back for a repeat occasion. So to come back onto the same show to talk about another topic a few weeks later or a couple of months later, what a massive, massive compliment that really is. But in the meantime, doing more and more radio for me formed me a confidence in knowing how to speak, how to think clearly, knowing roughly what I'm going to say, but not have to read it. I always thought one day I'd have to be reading paragraphs to sound like I know what I'm talking about. I did do that on, I think, my first or second radio show ever years ago. But having that confidence to say, throw me any question. I am happy to answer anything. And I do remember the best compliment I ever got was actually just a week after I did my first ever Good Morning Britain show, which was just over a year ago. I never got any feedback from them. They don't have time to give you feedback. But I remember just giving the opinion that I had, some comments, some advice on the topic that I was on there to talk about. It was Richard Madeley throwing out these wild questions that I didn't know I was going to be given. I enjoyed that, but I didn't know how I did. 10 days later, they called me up again, and I said to them, why are you ringing me? Did you mean to ring me? And she said, yeah, what? We want you back on. I went, well, why? Was it not good enough? Do you want me to do it again? She was like, no, we've got another topic. We've got someone else we want you to go and talk with. It was Linda Robson from Birds of a Feather.
Oh, yeah.
I think she'd been hacked. And they said, look, she's not confident in the terminology and knowing what to talk about if we ask her questions on how to stay safer next time. So we'd like you to go and do it. And I said, what, you want me back on? That's nuts. So it was just under 2 weeks after I was on there for the first time, I was back in there. And this time I was with Susanna Reid, who I've always thought was an incredible journalist. And I couldn't wait to be interviewed by her and learn from her. And she had some really awesome cues. Like, she wouldn't speak over me, but she would take an intake of breath, I realised, when that meant I want to come in now. So I learned very quickly how to read signals under pressure of cameras and lights, and knowing that she wants to come in, because she wasn't rude enough to speak over me. I wasn't a politician there, but I could tell that she was trying to come in. And that was a moment where I thought, okay, this is incredible. I'm in a very privileged situation, but I'm able to learn about that. And I wouldn't have spotted that cue if I couldn't say, get rid of all the noise of right, how am I sitting? Am I spinning on my chair? They give you spinning chairs, by the way.
That's my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, I sit on a swivel chair during the day and I'm like doing like laps around the room when I'm in calls.
Yeah.
And why can't they just give you a static chair?
So I now watch that show and I love, say, noticing if anyone is spinning on their chair. And I always give them a little smile thinking, yeah, that definitely would be
If
me.
you know, you
Yeah.
know.
If that was, say, my first or second time ever on telly. Now I know, right, don't swivel. But I love it because they look like they're 7 years old going...
Engage your
yeah.
core.
Just spinning 360s, go, yay!
I love your answer to that question because actually we can all imagine what it's like, but so few of us have actually had that opportunity or that lived experience. So I love the way you've just broken it down because in my eyes, I'm like, oh, it must be so bright. Like people are running at you with makeup brushes and you go in and you're swept in there.
Oh, I do love the makeup. It's the only show I get quality makeup. And as it's so early in the morning, I don't ever take it off. So I
glow
leave it
all
on
day.
all day. And now I go in there and I'm a bit of a diva, but I say, I don't just want the powder. Have you got that stuff that gets rid of wrinkles? And there's one really lovely lady.
Own the moment.
There's this lady that goes, I know the one you mean. And she smothers it on and it's brilliant. It's super thick. I'm like, I'm having this all day.
We know what to get you for Christmas.
I mean, that's incredible. And I think what's interesting is we often see figures in our industry like yourself who do a lot of this, and you almost think, you know, well, they're not afraid. They've got it all together. They look glossy. I mean, it's the makeup, but, you know, they look glossy and put together. And so to hear you even talk about the chairs and things, it like really demystifies that, you know,
Normalising
you're
it.
also
Yeah.
just, you're a human being that works in our industry that is doing these amazing things. But that's not to say that you're not feeling a bit unconfident in the beginning or you're not thinking, oh, well, you know, what if they ask me this or that? And so I think for the benefit of our listeners, that's really important to talk about because it shows that, you know, you weren't just born this like swishy TV character. You might have been, I'm sure.
I will never watch my first ever BBC interview back, ever.
You're just inviting people to go and watch it now.
Annoyingly, it's out there.
But yeah, I think that's important, is breaking down that didn't just happen overnight. That came from you doing a lot of work and research. And I think confidence comes from a lot of knowledge and being comfortable in taking time to observe other people's body language or other people's cues or, you know, learning how to lower your heart rate, that kind of thing. I think people
So right,
feel
yeah.
confident because they feel empowered by knowledge.
That's so, so true. Knowledge is the thing that's going to give you the power in that moment. I have a random question for you.
Okay.
How is it when you are thrown such random topics? Like, how do you prepare when, like, 1 second maybe you're talking about, I don't know, AI, the next minute you're talking about romance fraud or whatever? How do you feel comfortable with such a broad range of topics? Or are you just a whiz?
I'm lucky that I've always loved crime.
Okay.
As a kid, I wanted to be a criminal.
What
Genuinely.
kind of criminal?
A bank robber was
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Just thought we'd smooth that one
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. That is actually how I got into the police force. I
Not through committing crime, but
no,
an
but I
interest in
wanted
crime.
to. My mum said to me, yeah, what are you going to do with your life? This is like the last year of university.
Oh, so you weren't like 7 when this happened?
No, but I'd been thinking about it all
Right.
through my childhood, watching bank robbery movies. You know,
Yeah.
they're cool. We all love films like
I love Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God,
yeah.
Ocean's 11's great. I watched that thinking, wouldn't that be cool? We all do. It's weirdly romanticised a lot of crime. But I think if you look at your Netflix, say, shows that it thinks you might want to watch, they'll be about murderers. It doesn't make you a murderer. It
Very
just makes
true.
you interested in it.
Yeah.
So in the same concept, I've always loved those crime movies. And my mum said, look, what do you love? Because if you do something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. It's the classic.
Can we have your mum on here?
She's very wise.
Yes. And she goes, I don't care what you do, whatever level you get to. She even said, I don't care what money you make. You shouldn't. But if you love what you do, then it'll be a lot more fun. And I genuinely said, I love bank robberies. And she said, well, you can't be a bank robber. Why don't you join the police? And I remember I was on a walk with her on the beach. I stopped and I went, that is a great idea. And I genuinely did. I went and joined the police within 6 months of that chat. And I spent 14 years in Dorset Police because of that. I even spent, this is the funny bit, I spent 6 months in the robbery squad and we didn't have any bank robberies. It was
Got
so
it.
dull. And I was like, oh, That was really boring. But yeah, I was in the right place, right time for going into digital forensics and into the cybercrime team. But if you love what you do, of course, it's going to be way more fun. So over the years, I've learnt about how criminals think, how criminals act in all sorts of scams, which has always been my favourite thing because the psychology that comes into it, the hacking of the humans, which there are so many great books about, and learning how they do that over now 20 years of studying them. And I still read every single morning for at least an hour what has happened in the last 24 hours to do with any cybercrime or scam, whether it's through the news, through X, through Reddit, through social media, through LinkedIn. I absorb what everyone's doing. There are some wonderful people that I follow on LinkedIn, yourselves included, who are doing wonderful things. I like to just see what's going on, and then if I'm asked any topic, I feel that I'll give them a few, say, top line things on it. If they want to delve into it even further, then brilliant. But I think that passion that sits over the top of all of it gives me that extra confidence and joy in speaking about it.
I think that's as well where, depending on what domain you're speaking to, so if maybe you're doing a piece of work related to your employer, or if you're doing a piece of work where you are advocating maybe to the public, the depth and breadth of what you need to know may be slightly different and how you approach that conversation.
Well, yeah.
Maybe even the language.
Do you know what? Recently, I've been doing a lot of fun stuff with AI, as everyone is. But
I've seen.
I love making silly videos. In fact, I made a video of me and my cat on Sora, and I have this joke that my cat hates me. It's probably not a joke. My cat does hate me. It's probably because I have so much love for my dog. But my cat looks at me with these eyes. So I made Sora make this video with its eyes. It kills me, this devil stare. And I fall over. By the way, my mum believed that I'd made this video, even though I land on my head on the patio. Anyway, I made this. And I thought, well, this is quite funny. And then I got asked to go to the US Embassy and talk about AI. So I start with this video of this cat killing me. And then I realised my audience. And it weirdly worked. But I then thought, OK, I'm talking about AI and cybersecurity, but I'm also talking about how you can make some funny little videos with your cat.
Yeah, I think the thing I take from that is it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I think the messaging with cybersecurity, let's be honest, there's only so much we can say in terms of preventative cybersecurity, whether we're speaking to our grandmothers or the US Embassy. But I think it's how the stance you take and the language you use and the tone you use, because I think there's more case for being more firm and assertive when you're speaking to organisations. Whereas when I'm speaking to friends and family about cybersecurity, you don't want people to be scared. And I think because people are often very scared, tone is a really big thing. And I think you're a very approachable figure. And so I suspect that works very much in your favour when you do these TV appearances, because they go, well, that's the lovely guy on the TV that talks about cybersecurity.
It's not scary.
No, exactly. So it makes it certainly more accessible.
Oh, thanks.
I'm going to wiggle us on. So we have had a question from our listeners for you. Very exciting. How can I best prep for a talk or interview? I've been given the opportunity but don't know where to start. I'm terrified. What do you think?
Okay, I get that feeling of being terrified. I understand that, but you shouldn't be. But practice is so good. And for me, I spend about 6 months a year writing a talk for the next 12 months to then deliver in certain ways. And I find the best way of practicing is delivering that talk to your friends, but in pieces. It's not the whole thing, not the whole 20 minutes or 30 minutes, maybe little sections. But you'll find that it becomes easier every time you say it, definitely. But then you can add bits. And usually with me, I find that my friends, they're so funny, and I'm not naturally funny, but a lot of my friends are. And they'll often give me little pointers to help me make the talk, say, more approachable. So an example of this, I came up with this talk recently. It's all about hacking facial recognition. I had to give this talk earlier on this year. And I said, it's so similar to Mission Impossible, weirdly. In my love of films, I'd noticed that Ethan from Mission Impossible uses these glasses and they had a camera in them. And and then they used facial recognition in the glasses, and then they used AI in the glasses. And my friend just said to me, "Oh, I know how you should finish it. Why don't you get your laptop to blow up at the end and say this presentation will self-destruct in 5 seconds?" I looked at him like, "You are a genius." Within 5 minutes, I was on Amazon. I bought a smoke machine. And
As you do.
Yeah, that you can...
Beauty of Prime.
Yeah. That you can remote detonate from your pocket. And so I bought that. It is so cool. And now that talk I end with saying, in a joke, it's really silly, but I go, "Oh, everything that I've been telling you is top secret." I mean, everyone knows it's coming. And I just look at everyone and go, "I know you're all going to think I'm stupid, but I don't care because I think it's funny. And this presentation will self-destruct in 5 seconds." The laptop blows up in smoke, and it's loads of smoke. And then the music from Mission Impossible comes in. I still find that funny. And I still high five. I still high five my friend and go, "Thank you so much for saying that." So the more you deliver this to your friends and your loved ones, they'll be brutally honest, but they'll give you the greatest constructive criticism, and they might give you some funny pointers. And if you can add them in, then that's brilliant.
I love that. And it's in a way that's authentic and resonates with you as well. Do you know what I mean? Where you're not making like a really prescriptive presentation or piece of content. You're still adding your own flavour and your own dynamic to it. And people
And
are
my
like,
friends.
"Oh my goodness, do you remember when we went and saw that presentation with Jake and his laptop blew up?
Yeah.
And then he went up into the ceiling on a string." Do you remember?
Funnily
That's
enough,
what you haven't done yet.
No,
Just-
I asked to do that because this talk
Oh
I had
my
to do
goodness.
it was for our big ESET World Conference in Las Vegas, and the whole Vegas of go big or
Anywhere
go
can
home.
do it, yeah.
So I said to him, "Can I start it with a stuntman or me coming down from the ceiling, and then maybe we're both wearing the same clothes if it is a stuntman, and we land behind the laptop. He would then run off, and I'd be already there, and I'd pop up." And they looked at me like, "No."
No, you're not doing that.
But I got away
Budget
with
didn't
it.
quite
Yeah.
stretch.
No, it didn't.
That's a big ask.
Yeah, I mean,
Stuntmen in cyber, who knew?
I thought it'd be funny.
I think it would be. Look, it remains to be seen. No one's done it yet. So
Yeah, watch out. Next year I'm doing it.
exactly. I think translating that into more like day to day, because interviews was a part of that question. When I think about as a hiring manager, what I like to see from people is humanity. You can really tell, and I think we've been doing the podcasting thing for long enough now, when someone has over-prepared because they don't come across authentically. And I think a huge part of feeling confident with what you're saying or what you're doing is doing it naturally and actually doing it in a way that feels authentic to you. And, I look at how you both communicate, and Rebecca, you with your TEDx. How you speak is wonderful, but if I try and recreate that, I'm going to sound like an idiot because that's not how I speak. That's not how I conduct myself. And so I think a large part of it is even just practicing on your own how you deliver certain words or phrases or things you say or language you use. That's a really small way of building your confidence so that when you are in these situations, you're talking like you, not talking like someone you aspire to be.
Great point.
I love that. That's very, very true. And if I do think back on the TEDx, like you said, Jake, I broke it down into little segments, tried it on my friends, rehearsed it far too much with people at work. I recorded myself so I could see how I stood. Was I like hunched over looking terrified, or did I look comfortable in my space? And then I did I'll describe it like a launch night. But basically I got a bunch of people I liked at the pub. I went, "I want to deliver it to you so you can give me feedback like
was
a
a
couple of
great
weeks before I
night.
do it. So that if there is changes or you think there's something else I could throw in, that would be awesome." And I did get some little nuggets that then I was able to use on the day. But by the time I took to that dot, I felt like myself.
Yeah.
And like I could own that moment. And that's all I wanted for it. And obviously to create a piece of content that would help people.
Brilliant. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I think even down to what you wear. So I recently had my graduation for my degree, and one thing we were talking about afterwards is what people wore on their feet. Because I always, my mum taught me the thing of, always notice what people's nails and shoes are like. And that's just,
Don't look at
a
me.
slightly less wise thing to what your mum said. But I thought what was really interesting was like there were so many people in like trainers and things, and I watched the video back to show Rebecca my walk across the stage, and I had on like 6-inch Louboutins, but I was strutting across there, and I was owning that.
Yeah,
and
great.
I thought to myself, like, if I'd have worn trainers, I don't think I'd have conducted myself like that because I wouldn't have felt as confident. Whereas there were people who had really nice trainers on who absolutely worked it. And I think we often have this association, and we speak about it a lot in our book, of you need to be really formally dressed to feel confident in an interview or when you're giving a talk. And actually, I think it's, like I said earlier, it's about being comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's not just in what you say, it's how you present yourself.
Yeah. I wore these very shoes, they're a bit old now, for my TEDx, because I thought I want to wear a pair of heels, but then I knew I couldn't stand up straight comfortably for 15 minutes in them. So I got an outfit I was comfy in, and yeah.
Well
I'm taking
done
it down
you.
a different pathway.
Exactly.
What shoes do you like? What do you
I only
wear?
wear trainers. I had to go to an award ceremony last week, and it was a black tie. And I went, I'm going to have to wear my white trainers with it. So I did.
That's so
I haven't got
funny.
any shoes.
That is so funny. Okay, so moving on from footwear and confidence, not a path we ever thought we'd go down, but hey ho. Prior to this session, you shared with us how role models and mentoring has played a part in allowing you to build your confidence and get the exposure you needed to progress in your career. So could you share with us any examples of how these individuals have taken you under their wing and why this mattered to you?
Yeah, there have been lots of people over the years that I've really looked up to and thanked. Even if it was just a few lines a few years ago, particularly in the police force. I remember joining the burglary squad and not knowing really what I was doing there. And there were a few cops that had been there 20 odd years. And these were old school cops as well that were around probably in the 80s, where they were getting away with whatever. And looking at me like, what do you know? And I remember them even asking me, like, what are you doing here? And I was going, well, I like bank robbery and I want to join the police. And they would look at me like, you're an idiot, get out of it. But there'd be a few other people that went, look, I can tell you really do want to be here. And they would take me under their wing. And there were literally a quality handful of people that said, look, this is what you want to look out for. This is the way you investigate it. This is what I would do in your situation, and really helped me. And I had a few of those people along the way, and I really loved that. And this is where mentors are so good. But I don't like the idea of just having one mentor. A lot of people say a mentor is great. Yeah, of course they are, but have lots of different mentors, and people that aren't in the industry, people that are completely irrelevant, like our friends. We talk about having a comedy friend is a way of having a mentor, because they'll see things differently and add a little nugget, like you say in a TED talk. That's amazing to have that. And that also gives you the extra confidence to say, well, at least I've got that bit in there.
Yeah.
And then you're going to, boost yourself with that confidence. They might not even know they've said it. Of course, there's family members as well. They're the ones that are not going to care if you make a mistake in those, say, those times when you're practicing it. I know that when I've delivered talks to my mum early on, if something was terrible and I don't ever use it, she doesn't judge me. So having the confidence to be able to know you can do that with any family member is brilliant. But I find the more I talk to people, the easier it is. It helps that I am an extrovert rather than an introvert. So I get that it's not the same for everyone. But yeah, being able to have those people along the way is wonderful. And I do find the more I just chat to people, the better it is. Actually, there was one funny time that when I remember I started at the police force, I'd only been there about 6 months. And I walked into the canteen and I loved saying hello to everyone that I met, and I wanted to know everything about everyone. I just couldn't believe I was in the police force. And I went and sat down next to this guy and I said, hi, my name's Jake. What do you do here? And everyone moved out the way.
Oh, no.
And he
Who
looked
was
at
it?
me and he went, why don't you tell me who the hell you are, son? And I went, well, my name's Jake, and I really want to be in the robbery squad one day, and this is my background, and I just love crime. And he just goes, what? I'll tell you who I am. I'm the commander of this police force. And I was like, does this mean anything to you? And he pointed to his shoulder to show me that this crown he had. And I was like, I don't know what that means. No, I just want to know what you do. Anyway, everyone was looking at me like, what are you on about? I can't believe you've done that. Anyway, a few hours later, I got called up to his office by his PA. My boss came and found me and went, what have you done? The commander wants you in his office now. So I grabbed a tie, I ran upstairs, and they closed the door, and there were two guys there, these big guys, and the commander, and they go, I've heard you like bank robberies. We've got a bit of an issue at the moment. We know you've got a maths degree, because that's what I did at university. We've got a real issue with looking at statistics in crimes. No one's analysing. This was back in the day when they didn't analyse any data. And in particular, didn't get any data from other counties as well. And I said, I thought you were going to tell me off. And I said, well, yeah, I can help out. And so they gave me this extra work to do. And from then I started to be known by so many more people. And that's why when the high-tech crime unit started, they asked if I'd like to join that department. Of course, I jumped straight at it. So I never had to interview from that moment onwards. And then they put me into the cybercrime team. Actually, I ended up running the high-tech crime unit for a few years as well. So I just felt by saying hello to everyone, asking what they do, being interested in what everyone does, really helped me in my career.
I'm a bit like that, and I don't know whether my team like it or not, but I do. They're a person.
Yeah.
Just walk about. Hi.
Yeah.
Who? What do you do? Yeah. And it has served me. I always remember in my previous company where I saw that we'd got a new female CEO, and I was like, wow, how incredible is that? She's a woman, I'm a woman. I'm going to email her. So I emailed her because I thought, what's the worst that could happen to me? Like, I said, I think you're amazing. And I would love to just chat with you about how you got to where you are, how I can support you. I think you're really inspiring. And I got a message back. And she was like, I'd love to talk to you. Because I don't think anyone had ever been that bold and just reached out like that before to go, hey. Yeah. My leadership found out at the time, they're like, what are you doing? Why are you emailing the CEO? Because I am. Yeah. But then from there, she remembered who I was. Yeah, she advocated for me in other rooms. She helped me travel around the world because she was there. She knew my name and she knew what I stood for. We met in London and went for lunch. She was in the US. But when she came over, she's like, I'm here. All because I just thought, you're a person and I think you're cool and I want to know about you.
Sure.
You have to be
authentic.
Brave. I was very much myself.
I love that.
Good or bad.
Good on you.
Thank you.
Like, I'm probably going to give the more introverted view on that because, as Rebecca will tell you, I'm not like you two in that way. Like that, I think I'm I think I'm friendly. I'd like to hope everyone thinks that. But, I'm definitely not as like warm, and we always say that I'm the black cat to Rebecca's golden retriever energy. And so when it comes to finding role models, the idea of like approaching someone and almost asking for that like makes me feel a bit nauseous. And so I think what I take from what you said that I would encourage other introverts to do is don't think of mentoring, as you said, as this like big declarative thing where you need to have one person, and actually looking at what do you get out of mentoring and how can you get that in your existing network and relationship. So I get that a lot with my team at Principal Defence, where I don't know something or I don't have experience in something, even if I am the most senior person in that function, but I am being mentored all the time by the team that I work with because the output is the same thing as if I was to go externally and ask someone. So I think that piece is really important. I think also it doesn't have to always be conversational. You can have mentoring in forms from podcasts or from, listening to people, engaging with people online. It doesn't have to always look like having a face-to-face conversation where that's great. And I think there's a lot of benefit to be gained from that. But I listen to podcasts where I feel that I get advice that would come from a mentoring relationship. Yeah. So I think what I'm trying to say there is that it's fantastic to do the things you're both doing. But if that makes you feel a little bit grey, that's fine. It doesn't have to come from that.
Do what makes you feel happy and confident.
Definitely.
For sure.
I'm going to take us into the last question, I think, already. Can you believe it? Jake, one of your magic skills is the ability to make threat intelligence, cyber hygiene, all that good stuff accessible to everyone. What tips do you have for doing that? Why is it important that everyone has a basic level of cyber knowledge?
Oh, it's so important. Everyone needs to know about cybersecurity. And there's always something new to learn. Every day is a school day. I learn something new about cybersecurity every single day. The more we talk about it, the easier it is to get by and be more secure, not just for your business sake, but your own personal sake as well. And the more we make it easily, say, digestible, the better it is for everyone in society. And there's so many new things coming out all the time. For example, just to, teach the family members about passkeys, for example.
Yeah.
To say to them, have you seen passkeys? They may have seen it pop up on their WhatsApp, and they might have said, no, I don't want that. But then just to talk that through, that's a really great way of say, teaching people the process of security in an easy way and honing it back into something that means something to them, so their messaging service, rather than at work, then that's brilliant. And the more we talk about it, the easier it is for everyone, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be this big, daunting topic that you need to be technical or understand how technology works. It needs to be accessible because everyone deserves the right, as I've said far too many times, but to be safe.
Well, I always think it's funny. The more technical you are, the more likelihood you're inviting that person to go, well, actually, what you've missed out is... And I've definitely had my fair share of them.
Yeah, I think we see it a lot with the work we do at CyberAid, working with charities, is that often cyber professionals almost have that prescriptive nature of like, well, you should have the entirety of the NIST 853 control set to be secure. And it's like, well, they're a charity. There's 4 of them. Like, proportionality is a really key thing.
Brilliant.
And so, the motto I always use is meet people where they're at rather than what you think they need to do. It's actually understanding what is their existing relationship to security and how can we make that 1% better. Not everyone needs to be this like cyber ninja expert. Like, it is enough to just do one thing to improve your cybersecurity every so often on a personal level. And actually, I think a lot of the benefit of the work you're doing is making people feel accountable for their own personal responsibility around cybersecurity.
Yeah.
One thing and do it well, right? Pick one thing, do it well, and then maybe look at the next.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even if that's just password security, like the amount of people who I speak to that go, well, it doesn't matter that I use the same passwords. And I'm like, well,
babe, it does.
The account you're using for your banking, pretty important. The account you're probably using to book your kids' swimming lessons, probably less important. But if that swimming lesson account gets hacked and they've got your password, they've also got access to your bank account. And you might not have MFA turned on because if you're not doing password security, MFA might be, the next step. And so it's almost like that laddered approach of, getting people to actually understand the risk and then building their own sort of personal control set based on that.
I think cyber as a person can be a personal journey, and I think a lot of people, until they've experienced that risk or that threat, almost don't take it seriously. But I think, Jake, that's where you're smashing it, because at least you're bringing it into the home, into that Good Morning Britain space. But it's where people are sat down, they're listening, they're absorbing, they're open, they've just got up. And they're just taking a little life lesson. Or they go, oh, it's the nice man.
I bet you do wonders at U3A groups with the over 50.
You know what? I used to speak at women's institutes.
That's
hilarious. The police, yeah, they used to invite me. I must have given 20 talks in 2 years when I was part of the cybercrime team. And it was so funny. But no joke, I remember giving a talk and I counted 3 people asleep while I was giving a talk on cybersecurity.
It's not a reflection on you.
That is amazing. Well, on that note, I think probably time to wrap up. Today has been a wonderful insight actually into a
Yeah.
world that we didn't know too much about. So thank you, Jake, for being so open and giving us so much food for thought and a bit of inspo as to what we'd probably like to do next. Please connect with Jake on LinkedIn if you haven't already. I'm sure you've probably seen his face before. So to end, if you have any other questions relating to anything we've spoken about today, please pop them through to cyberagonyaunt@gmail.com and we will do our best to reply there or maybe even cover in a future podcast. Thanks for listening.
Laters.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others or post about it on social media using the hashtag cyberagonyaunt.
As always, a huge thank you to our guests, to Matinee Multilingual, and to you, our listeners. Keep smiling, keep shining, and we'll see you next time on the Cyber Agony Aunts podcast.